Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It is January 14th, and this will be our chart lesson for the day. And this will wrap it up for the week. No chart lessons on Friday, so believe it or not, we've already finished another full week. I don't know where they're going. They just keep going by faster and faster. Believe it or not, January's halfway over now, so we'll be in February before you can blink an eye. But let's talk about the chart. Somebody made the comment in the forum today that this is getting untradeable. There's no prices aren't moving. When's it going to go back to normal? But for anybody that started following or the markets or trading over the last year, this what you're seeing now is a more normal market. What we've had the past year was anything but normal. It's probably the highest volatility year I ever remember, period, ever since I've been trading over 20 years. If there was one, I don't believe there has been one. There's just been so much craziness with COVID being the real driver there, I believe, and then just all the craziness going on in our nation and the election and everything else. It's just been one crazy year, and so the volatility was the highest for the longest. I mean, really, it was high all year till right before the holidays. Kind of slowed down in the holidays, and it picked up for a couple, right back, but it seems to be slowing down again. So this is a much more normal market. And so anyway, and speaking of the forum, we do have our special going again. If you want to join just our forum, it only gives you access to the forum, nothing else in the premium membership or anything. But we got the $10 specials going again. So if you want to join, come in there and learn and ask questions and get support and so forth. It's there. It costs you $10 for your first month and $10 a month thereafter. So check that out if you're interested in it. But it's a good learning opportunity to be able to ask questions because I don't. If you probably noticed, I don't answer. I don't even look at the questions and comments and so forth on YouTube anymore. I just don't have time to read to do everything. And so something has to give, and YouTube is where I simply don't answer comments anymore. I don't even read them anymore. So I don't have any idea. If you send a comment in here to me, I won't get it because I just don't have time to read it. I'm sorry, but between the website and my own trading and the chart lessons and now the forum, I just don't have time to get to all of it. So I'm pressed as it is, much less trying to read all the YouTube questions and comments as well. So I ignore them. So unfortunately, I thought about turning them off, but it's probably some value there for those of you that are coming here. So I won't turn the comment section off. I just don't read them anymore. So just being honest with you, I don't have time to read them. And don't. There's so much. A lot of times there's a lot of negativity, and the haters come through, and so you know, for the most part, people are pretty civil, but there's always troublemakers, and it's just not worth it to deal with all those questions and answers and trying to answer the same question over and over and over. Just it, it's all there. Just take the time to read back and look at some of the older videos, and probably every question asked has been answered a do, more than a couple of dozen times. So if you really want to learn something, come to the forum. It costs you $10 a month. I mean, that's basically the only reason I do that is just to keep everybody and their brother from coming in there and causing trouble there too. So I charge you just enough to where you got a little bit of skin in the game. And if you can't afford $10 a month, then you can't afford to be a trader anyway. So I'm sorry, but uh, I'm charging for it for that reason, just to keep the tire kickers away and for people to have a little skin in the game to come there, and just so we can control it and um, have a little bit of civility there. It's not going to be like most forums where you go in there and you got all these cowboys and you got people arguing back and forth. We just won't allow it there. So it's people are learning the right things. If somebody tells you something, it's probably the right thing, or somebody will correct them and make sure you get the right answer and so forth. But anyway, let's get to the chart lesson. I didn't want to get off on that tangent. For the most part, this was a range day. Once we started going lower, which really was not till after 2 o'clock, of course, measure the range, which you can see I did that there, and then drop this down. And that would give you your target. And you can see we bounced. We went a little further before we bounced, and then we um, fell a little bit further there, but this is well after 2 o'clock. So if you just look at the 2 o'clock trading, I mean, you can see this is a range day. Um, we just barely bounced outside of that going into the 2 o'clock hour. So uh, for all intents and purposes, this was a range day, and we traded with inside this range 95% of the day. So, but let's back out. We'll talk about the trades. So just again, the bigger picture was a range. And of course, we had a trend up, a weak one, a weak trend down. We had a break, and then we made this next leg down. Of course, you could measure those two legs too. If you had a runner or something going, you could measure these two legs and look for that. But I would probably stick to this target. This would have been probably the best place to exit just prior to this target, and that would have got you out right in here before it bounced. And we're getting really late in the day here. We did make another push down, but if you got your target right here and you entered up in here somewhere, you did well. So let's back out, talk about the trades. Not a lot of them today. They're pretty straightforward. But again, I remind you, this is a fairly normal market now. What you're seeing here, it seems slow after what we've been seeing, but I can assure you this is not a slow market other than comparing it to what we've seen recently. So anyway, 7 o'clock came on this bounce right here. And notice we turned down, we try to go higher once, we try to go higher twice. So you got a double test there, but more importantly, you got a second entry short with a nice bearish bar. This is a little bit congested, but I still like this. I mean, you're going to see a lot of this now that we're slowing down again. And, the key is you pretty much almost probably got enough room to get out back before this low anyway. But, I mean, this is why we scalp for 4 ticks, because you got just enough. I can't remember exactly how many ticks are in there. Let's just count them real quick. Your entry is at 08, and this went to 06 and a quarter. So you had a couple of extra ticks there to spare, but not a whole lot. But that's why we scalp for 4 ticks. People will try to change that, and then they'll have a loser and wonder why. But there's a reason we go for 4 ticks. I'm not going to get into all that now, but just understand there is a reason. It's been well tested, and there's a reason we go for 4 ticks. So, but anyway, you get a short trap here. There's a failed second entry short, and then it rockets up. That trap catches people. But you don't want to go long right into that resistance right there. EMA. We turned down there however many times you can see across there. Not a good place to go long for sure. So just sit tight on that. It works, but you still don't want to go long there. We break out and we start working down here. I don't see an entry. Again, this is just too sideways, too congestive. So I don't see anything worth fooling with there. Of course, you'd probably draw this line here, and notice we bounce off of it with a very strong bar, and you can clearly see there's 2 legs down there, and we're a little bit away from the EMA. So again, you're just trying to scalp this. Well, actually, by the time you can really take this trade, you really couldn't use this for a signal bar, so you have to use this one. So you're really not even trying to run this one back to the EMA here. But if it breaks higher right there, we're probably going higher. So I like that trade. That's a nice bullish bar back. It's telling you something there. And you can clearly see the 2 legs back on that second entry right there. Even though we went a little higher there, that's still a 2-legged correction back to the main trend line. And that's why I like that one. Then we get a reversal pattern here. This one works. I marked it again. I did make this one green because we've tried to get higher here for quite a while, and prices are really struggling. So the resistance seems to be what you have to be worried about, even though you got a trend line that looks like it's going up. I mean, you can clearly see if you had this trend line drawn, the midline's fitting, the upper side fits, everything looks correct. And you just don't want to go long right into that midline when we haven't been able to get above the midline of the range since back at, we bounced across it just barely here, but we haven't been able to get back across it since then, and that was at 8:30. And so I think it's just a little risky since we hadn't been above that except long enough to trap people since back at 4:30 this morning. So it's a little risky going long there. Again, I marked it, but once we didn't go anywhere again, you just can't enter across here. Even off this trend line, just don't enter in that. Just, it's pretty obvious now. I mean, I didn't draw it, but there's a little, it's pretty obvious at this point that prices are not going higher. And you can see that range, that trading range. I mean, that little congestion area. We'll color it just a tad, just to make it offset a little bit. And there's just no trades in there. I don't see anything I like, period. This one, maybe, if you had enough room here, if this would have broke higher, but it doesn't. It just stays sideways again. So there's just no reason to go long in there. It does break out and it fails real quickly. It comes back. Again, I don't see any entries here until finally we push up here. We try to go higher once. We try to go higher twice. And this is the overnight highs up here. We're not able to get back to them each time. We keep turning down. And then we try to go twice more. We're probably going to run back to the trend line at a minimum. So I marked that one. It is a little aggressive, so I marked it green. But if you see the range here and you know where the resistance is and you can see that we're trying to get up here multiple times and can't, we're probably going to correct even if we're going to go higher. And so I like going short right there. And because it's probably going to trap longs. And you can see how that rockets down so quick when it breaks lower right there. And that's what a trap does. But we got a little bit overdone there. Notice you're moving down. You get a first entry and then you get a second entry. And that's the first break of that. This is in the middle. I still like it. If you draw your little channel, you can see that we had a little overshoot there. And then that led to a break. We actually got a break, a close outside, and a new low all in one bar there, which that's not really uncommon on a little channel that tight. So, and again, you're just looking to ride this back to the EMA. As long as you got room in there, and if you get any, and you may catch a low, we may go on and make a new high. But it does get through the EMA, but then it turns down at that trend line. And then you get another confirmation of it right here on a second entry short. So I like going short now. It looks like the range is probably, this range high is going to hold and we're going to go lower. Sure enough, we do. And then we come back and this is basically a double top. So first entry, second entry. So there's your another failure, nice signal bar. I like going short there off that key entry point. And I believe this was the point where somebody took a short right here. Notice that there's two legs down right there. Hopefully you can see that. Trying to think what tool I can use to draw that with. Let's just see if a line will do it. Well, I could have just done that from here. Well, why is that? Oh, it's a support line. There's my regular line. I hadn't quite got used to this new toolbar yet. But you can clearly see the two legs down. You got a leg down, correction, leg down. And somebody had a setup. You don't even see the setup on my chart. But they had a break higher right here that turned down and went out the other side. And they saw that as but they actually had to enter short right here at this low, I think. And that's just way too, I mean, you're going short at the very bottom of two legs down, which is just the opposite of what you want to be doing. You wanted to get short up here. And you definitely don't want to be going short down here after 2 legs down, and you can clearly see that. But there was some kind of, I think they were playing it as a failed second entry long. And I'm going to tell you, unless you're a really skilled chart trader, forget about failures. I know they look, you see a lot of them on this chart and they look great, but the average trader cannot trade them yet. They're still struggling just to figure out when to go, when to use a second entry or whatever. So if you don't understand them, which most, unless you're really getting skilled at this and you have a great understanding of second entries and failures, don't take those trades. At least not, if you're just sim trading, take whatever you want, but don't be shocked when you take a failure and it fails, because you're the one. I mean, that's the whole idea, is to fool you into entering the wrong direction. And so if you take what you think is a failure and it doesn't go very far and reverses on you, then you're the one that got trapped. Not, you didn't find a trap, you got trapped. That's 99% of the time when one of those is, people send me their thing and all they did was get trapped. They got fooled. So just be careful with those. But anyway, that is a failed second entry long. Look at that double top. First entry, second entry, turns down right off that key entry point. Nice signal bar, another nice move down, and you get another 2 legs down. And this is almost an exact repeat of this. And this is actually what that other trade, maybe this is where he went. I don't think it is, because I remember it was right after this move up. So, but it looked just like this. Notice that 2 legs down, and this would have been a failure when it ticks lower right there, or at least that's what he was playing it as, and then it rockets right up. And he says, why did it lose? Well, you're going long way down here after 2 legs down, and look how far, when you enter, you want to be up here near this EMA, not way down here, because prices are going to, especially on a range day when prices are not getting very far away from the EMA, when you see them get far away like this, that's a buying opportunity, because they're going to snap back. I mean, just like right here, when this breaks out, that's a second entry short. I didn't mark that one because we weren't quite, because this channel's still in play, but that's another one that's probably going to come back, and look at it come back. Technically, that's not a second entry short, but you can clearly see 2 legs up. That's close enough, you could call that a double bottom. And you get those 2 legs up, and just look how far away. And when you've been that close all that time, it's going to snap back, and look how it snaps back hard. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, then we come back here and turn down again. And I like this one basically because there's your 2 legs down and then your failure. By the count, it's not a failed second entry long, but it looks like 2 legs down. It's going to be look how bearish that bar is. But it's also testing that midline. We came up and we tested it once, we tested it twice. And I like going short there. There's actually a second entry here, but this, you couldn't use this for a signal bar, and then by the time this one finishes, you're at the lows, and you see what happens. It breaks lower and comes back. But you get another failed second entry long right here. Notice that's a new swing high. It's higher than that last one. So, and you try to go first entry, second entry, and it turns down right off the key entry point yet again. Just go short there. Takes it a minute, but that thing rockets on down. Then you get that failed breakout. Look up, you're a little ways away from the EMA. It's going to snap back. Unfortunately, you don't get a signal bar there. And then we just kind of go sideways. No setup here. Again, we got away from the EMA, and look how it snaps back. But you got a new high, first entry, second entry, and that's even, you could even call that a lower high, because that's the first break of this channel, and we're probably going to try to retest that low. Even if we, at the very least, you're probably going to retest the range lows, because this is below the range lows, and you may not get back through there. So that's, again, good for a scalp. And then you come back, and now you got a second entry short right there. Notice the low, first entry, second entry. You got a double test. It's kind of hard to confirm that trend line, but it does touch these first two and that one too. But I wouldn't even have been looking for that yet. I'm just playing this as the midline. It's been strong resistance all the way across there since we got below it. And you get another second entry short here, but you can't go low right into that. And I don't think you want to go long here. There's not much room there. This one would have worked. I believe it would have worked. I think there's enough room to get out there, but that would be the key to it. Let's just see. The entry would have been 0850, and it went to 10 1/4. So yeah, that one would have worked. There is enough room there. I'm not crazy about it because we're below the EMA. A lot of sideways stuff there. Of course, that's because we're in this little range. And let me just color that one just to make it a little easier to see. And so that does fit the criteria. I'll at least make that one green. I didn't like it at the time, but because there's just strong support there. So, and you could call that a, we made a low there, test it once, twice. You could call that a double test. And you do have room to scalp out. So there's reasons to like that one. Again, I'm gonna leave it a little aggressive. Make a lower high here, but there's your low of your range, and there's the low of that previous little range there, congestion. And so that's just, I think I don't think you want to play the breakout of this with just that little bit of room there. It would have worked and it would have been a nice trade, but it's not a good setup. So make sure you understand that. And then we actually get a failed, there's actually a failed second entry long here, but again, you don't want to go long at or short at the low that far away from the EMA. It does confirm that trend line too, but now we get a break and you only get a first entry here. So, however, there are two clear legs down there. And so you might have looked at that as a failure. You would have entered one tick below that, but your signal bar would have had to go above the highs here. But at 2 o'clock, I probably wouldn't take that. It's a possibility, but so if you saw it. But again, this was really just a trading day because from this point on, even though we went lower, you can see during our trading hours where we just momentarily got below that price level for just a moment here and just a moment here. So anyway, that's what I saw today. I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap up our week, and we'll be back again to do it Monday. But yeah, I don't see anything else here too out of the ordinary that's probably worth spending any more time on today. So just a range day. There's trends up and down within the range. This was the best one, really. You got a few opportunities on it. It was a little weak here early on. So, but I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again Monday. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next